Okay, I doubt you've heard of this camera before. This is the Yongnuo YN455, a Chinese camera that's basically a cross between a mirrorless camera and a smartphone. And it's only like 750 bucks brand new. But how well does it work? And is this the future of photography? Now we're gonna dive into that, but before we do, I should say that Yongnuo did send me this camera for review by my request. I reached out to them because you know that I'm into weird stuff like this. But they gave me full liberties to share whatever I want, so all these thoughts are my own. Also, I do have a sponsor for this video, FlexiSpot, which has this awesome ergonomic office chair that we're gonna talk about later. There are two main categories of smart cameras, if you will, that have been attempted. The first category is the clip-on camera. This is where you use your phone for the screen and to control the camera. That's like the Sony QX1 from 2014 that I have. It has no screen by itself and you're supposed to clip your phone to the back of it. Other implementations have been done by Olympus, Hasselblad, Motorola, and more. And interestingly enough, there's two new Kickstarters recently, Alice Camera and Switch Lens, that are going this route as well. Then there's this kind of smart camera where the Android operating system is installed on the camera itself as a sort of all-in-one solution. It is a camera, but it runs Android. That's like this Samsung Galaxy NX I reviewed from 2013, or this unreleased Polaroid camera. And this is a far rarer type of smart camera. There are a few cameras like this, and this YN455 is the newest and best of this category of camera. And when I say that it runs Android, I mean it. This is full on Android. You can download apps like Lightroom to edit your photos and Instagram to post them. But you can also install apps that have nothing to do with photography. Or YouTube. You know, to watch videos from your favorite photography YouTube channel. That's crazy. I didn't even realize I wasn't subscribed. Oops. But is this a camera that runs Android or a smartphone with a mirrorless camera system attached? Because the line is kind of blurry. For instance, not only do you have Wi-Fi, but you do have a SIM card slot, and apparently it can run on 4G networks, though I haven't tested this myself yet. It has 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which is not large for a modern smartphone, but it is for a camera, which normally has 0 gigabytes of internal storage. There's also a micro SD card slot here for expandable memory in the typical way that you would use a camera. Kind of the best of both worlds here. But unlike any smartphone on the market today, there is a micro four thirds mount up here on the front. Now, micro four thirds is a vast lens system with some awesome pro and consumer lenses out there, so this is a great choice. It's also just a massive sensor compared to even modern smartphone sensors, which to their credit keep getting larger. Here's an iPhone 15's main camera sensor next to this sensor. This is really the main kind of reason that you'd want this kind of smart camera over just your normal, more pocketable iPhone. Although sensor size isn't everything, of course, and I'll show you later why your iPhone or Android smartphone might actually be better than this camera in some ways. The grip is super comfy, even if the camera as a whole feels a little bit awkwardly long because of this huge screen. There's a nice thumb rest on the back and lug mounts for straps. The big grill here on the front is actually a speaker, which is perfect for watching YouTube, except it faces forward. But actually that's not a problem because the huge, nearly 5-inch screen flips forward facing like this. The obvious use case here is for filming yourself, which feels awesome compared to the normal consumer cameras where you would need to attach an external monitor to get that kind of screen size and clarity. And genuinely, this is one of the best looking screens on a camera ever, although the bar is pretty low. There's only a few physical buttons on the camera at all. There's this power button and a shutter button. There's 2 USB-C ports for charging or attaching accessories. And remember, because this is Android, you can attach whatever you want, like keyboards, lights, microphones, power banks. The world is your oyster. But by far the most hilarious feature on this camera is one that I didn't even see advertised on their website or any of their materials. Just watch. I got some cool features here. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? My camera has a camera on the back. That's crazy. I don't know how that would ever be helpful. Yeah, there's a rear camera on your camera. I have no idea why you would ever want this, and I don't know the exact specs of the camera, but it's there in case you want to switch between them. I'll just stick to the clearly more impressive front-facing camera on this one. The Micro Four Thirds sensor of the main camera is 20 megapixels, so that's one of the newer Micro Four Thirds sensors. That's gonna pump out a ton of detail, theoretically. The colors straight out of the camera aren't great. It just seems kind of flat. They really gotta work on their color science here. But it does shoot RAW, which most photographers would use anyway to get the most data and edit the photo. Unfortunately, there is something seriously broken about the RAW files, and you get these weird color casts and clipped blacks. None of this shows up in the JPEGs, so I think it's a software glitch with the RAW files, but this shows up in Lightroom and RAW Therapy, and this should be fixed ASAP, hopefully with just a software update, which again, you can edit the photos directly from the camera if you'd like this. And while you spend all this time editing your photos, you're gonna wanna be comfortable by investing in a nice ergonomic chair like this one from our sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot, with their C7 ergonomic chair. Believe it or not, there's a lot of production that goes into these YouTube videos. I know it doesn't look like that, but there is. And I end up needing to sit at my desk for sometimes hours at a time. A few years back, I finally invested in a good office chair, and let me tell you, it makes a huge difference. We spend all this money on cool cameras, sometimes pointless cameras, but the better investment is your back and body, and they will thank you. I especially like the many different adjustments on the C7 chair. Not only is the mesh seating option breathable and comfortable, you can adjust the height, forward and backward slide, lumbar support, the headrest, the armrest, and more. If you watch videos from top ergonomic experts, these are the kinds of adjustments they recommend to get the chair custom fitted to your body. Use my exclusive code C730 to purchase the C7 or C7 Max now and enjoy a $30 discount. It's the best time to buy the C7. And now that my photo is edited, I can actually print directly from the camera to a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connected printer. I don't know if this is the future, guys, but it is certainly a different way to experience photography. The camera is controlled with their own camera app, which gives you a good, but not super detailed level of control. You can control the basics like shooting in aperture or shutter priority or full manual. You can choose white balance, some focusing modes, but the settings get a little short outside of that. It does autofocus, which is great, but the performance isn't great. The camera seems to focus on kind of whatever it wants to, and it wasn't super fast. Not slow like a very old camera, but not fast. It's fine enough for landscape photography or maybe simple posed portraits, but it wasn't up to the task of my kids running around. But let's say you don't like this photographic interface on this camera. Well, on a normal camera, too bad. You'll just have to get used to it. But not on this camera. Because this is Android, you can install whatever camera app you want. And I did. This seems to work perfectly well, except for whatever reason, the full 20 megapixel photos aren't an option. I've verified this with other users using different apps as well. But the video does maintain 4K, which is great. Video quality is pretty good, and it's made even better by the fact that you're getting to attach real lenses to the front of the camera. If you could do that with your iPhone, it would instantly upgrade the video as well. And like I said, you can attach all sorts of accessories to this camera. So an external mic via USB-C, or you actually have a dedicated mic and headphone port, which is also awesome. The big issue with video for me is once again the autofocus. It's not horrible, but it's not the greatest. Also, the fact that there is no stabilization, optical or electronic. If you're coming from a smartphone or even a normal camera, nowadays you're gonna expect stabilization, and it's just not in this camera. You're gonna have to stabilize it yourself in editing software. There are also some pretty gnarly rolling shutter with the electronic shutter, both in photo and video, so you gotta keep that in mind. But throwing this camera on a tripod for static shots or for live streaming, it's a breeze, since you can live stream directly from this camera if you wanted and directly power it without an additional adapter. And that's who I think this camera is really geared for, people who want to live stream or kind of migrate from their smartphone to a better camera with familiar controls. But should you? Is this really a good upgrade? And besides what we've talked about, here's a list of random cons that I won't bore you with the details of. For some people, this will matter. For others, it won't matter. But the big question to me that I want to finally answer is this the future of photography? Why do people keep trying this? Like I said, it's been tried before and it's basically never worked well. All those other cameras I mentioned at the beginning from a decade or more ago were basically big flops. The big thing I kept coming back to using it wasn't that this isn't a decent camera, or even that it wasn't a good upgrade to a smartphone in some ways. But what I kept coming back to is it's not very practical. Phones are just really good at being phones. They slip into your pocket, they're pocketable, they're fast to deploy, and they have really good cameras nowadays that just keep getting better. And dedicated cameras are fast, they have all the controls you need, fantastic image quality, and basically can't be beat. So you merge them together and you get this. It does some things well, but it does a lot of things just okay. A Swiss Army knife of cameras and a master of none, to mix metaphors. I think you get the idea. I think the future of photography is a little bit different than this, but I'll keep using it because it is truly a wild setup. If you didn't see my video covering the history of smart operating systems on cameras, then check it out here. That'll catch you up to speed. You'll enjoy it. I'll see you over there, and until next time, happy snapping.